Mac OS X includes a PHP installation along with the Apache HTTP server. You just have to activate it. Let's start again in Terminal. The first step is to edit Apache's main configuration file, named httpd.conf. I'm going to use a text editor that's included with Mac OS X named Nano. As before, I'll start with sudo, and then the name of the text editor, and then I'll add to that the location and name of the configuration file. It looks like this: /etc/apache2/httpd.conf. I'm filling the names of these directories and files in quickly by typing the first few characters and then pressing Tab. When I press Return, that opens the file in the editor. Now locate the line of code that activates PHP. Nano is a keyboard-oriented editor. You won't be able to use the mouse. There are keyboard shortcuts listed at the bottom. Press Ctrl-W for Where Is or Find, type PHP, and press Return. This should take you to a load module command that references PHP 5. Notice that there's a hash mark or # at the beginning of the line. That's a comment character, and right now it's deactivating PHP. Move the cursor over there with your arrow keys, and then backspace to delete the character. And that's all you need to do to turn on PHP. To save your change and exit, press Ctrl-X, then Yes to confirm you want to save your changes, and then Return. And that'll take you back to the command line. The next step is to create a PHP initialization file. This goes into a folder called private/etc, and the file has to be named php.ini. This file might not already exist on your system, but there's a starting file that you can copy. Start by switching to the right directory with cd/private/etc. Now list all files that start with PHP, with ls, php*, and you should see a file called php.ini.default. That's your starting php.ini file. Now I'm not going to edit that file. I want to leave it the way it is. I'm just going to make a copy of it and name it as the PHP engine expects. To do that, I'll start with sudo, then cp for copy, then php.ini.default, and then the target file name, php.ini. Then I'll list my files again, and there's my php.ini file. That's really all you need to do, but if you like, you can make some configuration changes to PHP. As before, I recommend using the Nano editor. It does the best job on these write-protected files. So I'll type sudo nano and then the name of the file, php.ini. And that opens up the file. I'm going to make one change that I always make to my PHP configurations when I'm doing local development. If I encounter a PHP error, I want the error to print in the HTML that's returned to the browser. This capability is turned off by default in this copy of the initialization file. To find the setting, press Ctrl-W and type display_errors and press Return. The first time you search, you'll get to some documentation, some examples of how to use this setting. To get to the actual setting, press Ctrl-W again and Return, and you should get to a line that says display errors equals off. Change that to on. Then, if you want to make any other changes, go ahead and make them. And when you're done, save and exit the file. Once again, pressing Ctrl-X, Y, Return. Now, to test PHP, I need to create a PHP script. There is a sample script in the exercise files, but I'm going to show you that because I previously changed the permissions on my Apache document root folder, I can now use a text editor and create new files in that folder easily. I'm going to use my favorite text editor. It's named Text Wrangler. And I'll start by creating the contents of the file. I'll start with the beginning PHP tag with open bracket, question mark, PHP. Then I'll type a single PHP command, PHP info, with an opening and closing parenthesis. And then I'll finish the PHP code block with question mark, close bracket. Now I'll save my file. I pressed Command S to save, and I've navigated to my document root folder. It's under /library/web server/documents. And I'm going to name this file phpinfo.php, and I'll save it. Now I need to restart Apache. I'll go back to terminal, and I'll type sudo apache ctl restart. After a moment, the command line returns, and now I'll go to the browser and test my file by typing localhost/phpinfo.php. And that runs the php info command, and I see that Apache and PHP are both working as I need them to. I'm working on Yosemite, the most recent version of Mac OS X as of the time of this recording. Notice that I'm running PHP version 5.5. If you need to switch to another version of PHP, you can get the PHP installation files from php.net. But this is the version that's included by default with Mac OS X.